Hey everyone, let's see. We got a lot of people in here. It looked like there were quite a few.
We have, let's see, so far we have 16, 17 people who have joined.
Okay. Okay, let me see how this is this working? Boink. Okay, interesting. I'm trying to give you guys the full screen effect this time, so it might be easier to see. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I got some homework from people. I'm sorry when they come in late. I really appreciate you getting them into me at any time at all. That's great. But when they come in late, I have a hard time looking or reviewing them and getting any response back to you. So I think you understand. But so one thing I've noticed over a couple of plans, irrigation plans, is that first off, I just have to say, unless you guys wave to me, I don't know. So wave, everybody wave, please. Thank you. It's just so weird. Something I've noticed is that there's a couple people had their irrigation times set to 3 to 5 minutes every day. And just a reminder, our goal, you're not going to get the depth. What we're going for is deep and infrequent watering. Okay, so we're going for that somewhere 18 to 24 inches. If you've got a 1 gallon pot, that's about 8 inches. You need the water to go down. This is the bottom of the pot. You need the water to go down here so that the roots seek it out. And it's going to go down through gravitational. It's going to go to the side through capillary action. And the roots are going to spread out this way and go down, seeking the water. And then it's going to dry from the surface down. So the first layer is going to dry, it's going to dry. Meanwhile, all this is wet down here, and we're going to encourage those roots to go down and out. And that's going to help create a more robust root structure, more robust plant in general when we're talking about native plants. So if you're going to do your irrigation on successive day, if your soil texture and absorption can accept a single watering event, we really recommend that you do it that way. So it's better to water for an hour or 2 hours, depending on your emitters or your distribution system. It's better to water for an hour or 2 hours at a time, get that deep soak, and then let it dry out. Let it dry out, let it dry out, let it dry out. We give the rough sort of guideline of a week. It may be different for your garden, but maybe after 5 days, that's when you start digging around 3 to 4 inches down and seeing how dry it is. Okay, and that area does not need to stay wet all the time. In fact, that's how you're going to encourage your root rot. Okay, so you don't want that. You don't need to keep this wet. You're going to get it wet, and it's going to dry. And it can get drier down below too. You don't have to sit there and micromanage it that much, but we're suggesting every 7 days that you water, depending on your soil. You know, if you've got super fast draining soil and it's very hot out and you planted late in the season, then you may have to water more often. So are there any questions about that? Okay, I see no, I don't have my chat up. I see one chat thing. Hi, everyone. Okay, awesome. So then here,
By
yes.
Eric Resendez, but I don't know if it's a question or if he was raising his hand when you asked for us to raise our hand.
Oh, okay. Maybe he's just saying hi.
Any
Eric.
questions, Eric?
Yeah, he had asked to wave our hand. I didn't see the symbol for that, so I just chose to raise it.
Got
Okay,
it.
I'm gonna lower it for you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, now let's, oh, shoot. How do I get? Okay, that's how I do that. I'm going to show you the special. Okay, I'm gonna stop my share. Oh, no, I bet I can do it this way. If I go to my mail, close this, and, oh, no. Okay, I got it. Sorry. Share. I'm gonna go here. And then I'm gonna share. Can you guys see my bucket?
Yes.
That is a 5-gallon nursery bucket. I didn't take a picture of the inside. You can see, I hope, the tubing on the left and right. And here's the plant just past the bucket that I'm trying to water. That's a Santa Cruz Island buckwheat. I put duct tape at the bottom of the bucket, and then there's holes inside, and I put like Gorilla Glue where the holes are. So it's like double-sided. I put the glue on the inside and the tape on the outside. And that is super, super low budge. And, but it seems to work. And I have another picture. Here's from another angle. There's my glorious sock. But this is my, here it is. And I hope, does that clear what's going on there? And you get 3.5 gallons of water, and I'm applying it to either side of the plant. So I get somewhat even distribution. You can dig your little moat around, but you want to dig past the can. So if that's the can, you want to dig your moat out here. And then you know how sometimes, and what those tubes do is they let the water go in slowly. It's like a drip system, except for it moves a little faster than a drip system would be, because that's 3.5 gallons and it drains probably 15 minutes or so. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you guys. If you're doing a lot of hand watering, it's pretty handy. Anyway, let me move on.
Thanks, Eric. We have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay, chats. Changes in the seasons, right? If it is very hot, would you not want to water more frequently? Yes, depending on when you get your plant in the ground. So if your water, if you remember that chart, and it's in your book, let's say you plant in June, yeah, you're gonna probably be watering more often than every 7 days, depending on your soil, depending on exactly how hot it is. They recommend you start off at about 4 to 5 every 4 to 5 days. That's a general guideline, right? And then if you're, let's say if you planted in winter or late fall and you're moving into summer and you have plants that are generally low on the water needs scale, then you're most likely not going to have to water those plants, but every 2 weeks or so. So they're gonna have put on a lot of growth through the winter and the spring and even the early summer. It really only starts to get gnarly hot July, August, September. June, yeah, it can get hot, but it's not the kind of like killer hot, right? So if you get it in the fall, by the time you get into summer, it's every 2 weeks, generally, depending on your plant's water requirements. And then even in winter, same deal. Spring, you probably more likely have to water your plants once a week. Okay. And then keep an eye on the temperature. If it's going to be blazing 110 degrees, again, keep your eye on the temperature a few days ahead. So I'm always looking next week and watering this week for what's going to happen next week. That's just how you're going to give your best shot at success. Will you please tell us, Eric, what type of glue? I saw some Gorilla duct tape plus the glue, then the hose is drilled in and sealed. No, I didn't seal it with the glue. I'm so like, I just like working without material, extra stuff if possible. I drilled a hole just slightly smaller than the plastic tubing, and then I wedged the plastic tubing in the hole. That's just how, I don't know, it makes me happy when I cannot use glue. So, I made a guitar once and I used no glue and I was really proud of myself. So yeah, that's how I use just plain old Gorilla Glue, but I bet there's something better you can use, something that's more water tolerant. The Gorilla Glue will get crusty and kind of dry out at a certain point. Okay, so I am trying to find, now I got to share screen again. There's my workshop. Okay. Well, there must be a way to do this. I'm not going to make you guys sit there while I fumble around. So I'm going to share this screen and we'll get through it. Where's my Zoom? Jesus Christ. Okay, share screen. Okay, there's the homework review. Okay, moving on. So this is week 2. This will be cool. And this is going to answer some of your questions from LADWP. We've got a LADWP representative here, and she's going to give you just the straight deal on various programs offered by LADWP. So it's really cool to have that person here. Okay, part 2, objectives of this session. Let's see, after completing this session, you will be able to change irrigation as garden matures, use automatic controllers, know the pitfalls of smart controllers, determine the amount of irrigation delivered by different systems, and take advantage of LADWP rebate programs. There's a rebate handout. I would suggest going to the website and making sure it's up to date. Okay. Okay, you're going to change your irrigation as garden matures, an annual perspective. So we're going to go through year 1, 2, 3, 4. Year 1, when any plant, native or not, is planted, its roots are bound by the container it arrived in. Over the next few months, new roots will begin to grow into the surrounding soil. During the first winter, they will need regular soil moisture to encourage a healthy root system. This requires your vigilance in monitoring the young plant, the temperature, the wind, the amount of rain, and then supplying the appropriate supplemental water ahead of the plant's needs to avoid stress. Here's a little starred area. Use 10 gallons per plant when you install it. And consider watering 3 to 5 gallons per new plant at each visit. 10 gallons seems like a lot. I don't usually put 10 gallons in, but they're recommending it. I think it's to really supercharge the surrounding soil, keep it wet, and just give that, you're not going to have to water again. If you have to water again in 7 days, I'd be surprised, but you will check it, maybe in 4 or 5 days, depending on your soil, your situation, how hot it is, all that other stuff. And then when it's time to water, if you were hand watering, it would be 3 to 5 gallons per new plant. If you were using a point source dripper, you would consider watering 3 to 5 gallons per new plant. If you're watering with overheads or an inline drip system, you're going to want to make sure that water goes down to that 18 to 24 inches we talked about. Okay, so the plant, again, and let the top dry out. You don't need to keep that all wet. You're going to sog it up and then let those roots grow down below. Okay. Again, deeply, infrequently. I'm gonna get a t-shirt made that says that. Deeply, infrequently. And people are going to be like, wow, guy, I don't know what you're about. That's weird. Back off on water slowly. Yeah, okay. So basically you'll be backing off. When you start backing off, you start looking at the new season. That's when you start evaluating. So if you get in the fall, by spring, it's basically 6 months, and then you can start backing off on the watering. Not every week, but every 2 weeks. Again, just a guideline. Okay. Here's year 2. During years with normal precipitation, reduce irrigation frequency the second summer, but apply enough water to wet the top 18 inches in one irrigation event. Right. Apply water slowly so that it penetrates into the soil, does not run off. Be mindful. Find an indicator plant that acts as a canary in the coal mine. So I'll get right to that. In low precipitation years or during drought, you will need to adjust the water schedule to better mimic what plant should be receiving. Okay, we're going to get into the whole drought thing pretty soon. So as far as an indicator plant goes, that I would say, so you don't want to pick a plant that's going to go deciduous and you can't bring it back. Remember, I talked about the Diplacus, the monkey flower. If you use that as your indicator plant, you might run into trouble because you'll be trying to water this plant that insists on going dormant. Same thing with Incelia californica. I've heard that you can keep that going a little bit. Maybe you can keep it going a little longer, but I know in Sunland where TPF is, it just goes dormant and there's nothing we can do about it, no matter how much water. So I'm just gonna, if I use that, it's gonna maybe not be my best indicator. One indicator plant that we use is Carpenteria californica. So that's the bush anemone. Those that plant seems to, and you'll find your plant probably, that plant seems to flag. The leaves just go droop. And when that happens, I'm pretty sure it's time to water. And if it's like, a day before my timer's about to go off, I just let it ride. I don't panic. I just let it deal with it. If I was really worried about it, I could drop some water on that plant alone, but I'm probably not going to do that. So another one, some people suggest Irrigation glaucus, so the seaside daisy. It's not a woody plant. It's a nice soft green plant, and when that doesn't get enough water, it's going to let you know. Okay. All right, let's move on. Oh, hey. Year 3, following the strat. Any questions about year 2, 1 and 2? Anybody? Okay.
There's a question in the chat.
There's a question in the chat. Okay. Yes. Here we are. Changes in the seasons, right? It is very hot. Yeah. Will you please? I already answered that. Oh, sorry. Let me scroll down. Carpinteria californica. Yes. I'm sorry. Which indicator plant do you use? Yeah. There you go. Seaside daisy. Yeah. So the Carpinteria californica is called the bush anemone. It's a really neat plant. Gives you the white flowers, yellow centers in the shade. So pretty cool. Seaside daisy, it's just like a little small border plant. Okay, so here we are at year 3. Following the strategy for infrequent deep watering, you may perform a deep watering of the garden while you are servicing it. If it has had a deep watering recently, consider a quick spritz before you leave, in order to leave the garden fresh and clean. Yeah, okay, so that can give it a little shine. It's like dusting off your car or something. It gets the dust off the leaves. Let's say it had been, it's just a sort of like leaving a good feeling when you leave. And it also serves a purpose of cleaning off those plant leaves, like Baccharis could use a little bit of that, and even the Encelia could use that. And so as far as performing a deep watering of the garden when you are servicing it, I don't know, use your own common sense about that. It might be, you might be trying to work while it's irrigating. It seems a little odd. Okay, year 4, irrigation. Okay, at any time, year 2, 3, 4, you may have to add new plants. Okay, we're going to talk about that here. Irrigation is always in need of repair. Broken parts, slow leaks, and adjusting the schedule are a regular part of the garden routine. That goes for year 2, 3, 4, even year 1 irrigation repair you may have to perform. So that's just when you're going to visit or checking in with your client, you're going to want to check that irrigation. In areas with very hard water, check for mineral residue buildup and check the filters on irrigation heads. Yeah. Remember that if you add plants to a mature garden, they will need separate hand-watered irrigation until they are established. So let's say you've got a year 4 garden, and let's see, you've got a year 4 garden. Maybe you're watering it every 3 or 4 weeks through the summer. Remember the very hot time, and we're giving those plants a little water so they don't go completely dormant if they're amenable to summer water. And then you would, if you've added new plants in the season, those are going to need extra water. So that can be hard to balance. You may have to hand water or find some kind of balance between the mature plants and the new plants. You know, it's possible that if you, yeah, you know, you're going to get to know that garden if you're doing it regularly, and you'll know whether, you know, how much attention those new plants will need. So that's just a FYI of something you'll be having those new plants and those old plants, and finding that balance between the two it can be challenging, time consuming. Okay, moving on to smart controllers. Oh, other things you'd be checking in your irrigation: breaks, runoff, and plants that have matured and blocking your pop-ups. We got into that a little bit when we had our in-person. I showed you, we have pop-ups, and we had plants on one side that were planted at the same time as the other side, but one side wasn't growing as fast, and it was basically because we think because the pop-up was being blocked by a plant. And you know, that's the other reason why to turn it on when you're there. Walk through, see what's happening, make sure you're not, you know, everything's getting irrigated. Okay. So let's move on to smart controllers. Residential outdoor water use in the United States accounts for more than 9 billion gallons of water a day, mainly for landscape irrigation. Experts estimate that as much as 50% of this water is wasted due to overwatering caused by inefficiencies in irrigation methods and systems. But not you guys. You guys, this is not, they weren't checking your guys' gardens out, because that's not going to happen. Irrigation control technologies can significantly reduce overwatering by applying water only when plants need it. True. So we're going to get on into all the cool things about smart controllers. Benefits of a smart controller: may save water, depending on how you program it, I suppose. Remote access to it wherever you are. So apps, they make apps for the smart controllers, and you can decide if you're not using an automatic probe that communicates with your controller, then you can say, oh, I'm going to stop it, or I'm going to start it. Okay, no irrigation when it is actively raining. The possibility that more customers will take an interest in them as more smart home devices make their way on the scene. Many cities, state, and water districts require them. More features are coming, like wireless flow meter, which allows users to know exactly how much water they're using, as well as give them protection against wasting water due to leaks, broken pipes, broken heads, and other problems with the system. I'm going to tell you, I haven't used these. So I have heard Meryl say that she uses them. We don't use it at TPF. I just think it's there's just too much going on over there to use the smart controllers. Would anybody like to speak on using smart controllers?
Well, first off, I just want to say some of the cities are now requiring flow control along with WIBIC, or weather-based irrigation controllers. WIBICs, you know, they're not a silver bullet. You really need to know how to program them properly. And I know you talked about that briefly last week. So whichever one you decide to buy, do your homework, really check it, and then go back and keep an eye on the garden to see what's really happening out there. That's the thing that I have found time and time again. And do this seasonally. Do it seasonally, because not only about mature plants, but as the garden grows, you're going to get more and more shade. So that's another factor that has to be taken in. So that's kind of my general big picture 2 cents about WIBICs.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's what we're saying. It's not a thing where we really try to encourage people to get in there, see what's going on with the soil. Imagine if you miscalculate what it needs, or your sensor gets off, and your plants get, not what they need, So get in there, see what's going on with your soil. And then you can also, you start to learn what your smart controller, how to equate that to your own experience with what the moisture in the soil. So thank you for that.
Would you like me to speak on my experience as well?
Yeah, quickly hit us.
Okay, so I have no experience using the WebEx. I've never even heard of that, actually. I use Ratio and Rain Machine, and there's a couple Hunter products. And the issues that I found with the smart controllers, especially the Ratio and the Rain Machine, are access to the Wi-Fi. If it's in a garage, or if it's, the other part is, it's like, because it's a smart controller, it's like your phone. If it's in the sun, it won't work. Or if it's even in just like a hot part, it'll shut down. Like if your phone is even like in an air conditioned car, but it's in the sun, it's just like, what won't handle it. But the cool part is that if you program it like, okay, the hottest day in summer, I think it's going to need, whatever, like 1 day a week, 60 minutes. It's going to look at the actual temperature, like it gets information from NOAA or some other local rain and weather stations, and it'll dial it down or up. So if it's 100 degrees, it might dial it up to 120%. And if it's 50 degrees or raining, it'll turn it off or dial it down to like 20%. And Eric, I actually just sent you some graphs that I got from the EPA Water Efficient Landscaper Program that I thought were really helpful in, seeing how like most people, they basically like wait till they see wilting and then they dial the irrigation way up, but it's not at the wilting point of the plant. And so then they're like wasting water until they get to the next wilting point, and then they turn it way up, and they're just wasting water like 50% of the year. So I think the smart timers are nice in that they help to like automatically ramp it up or ramp it down, or they make it so you can automatically say, okay, it's 100% now. I'm going to dial it down to 70% in the fall and 50% in the winter. If it's not smart enough to be connected, it just changes all your zones at once. And then you can micro adjust it. And the one that I like the most right now has like a tiny little weather station for your location. So it's not saying like for all of whatever the valley, it's saying like, okay, for your particular location, which is on a north facing hillside, you're going to need this particular water because it's this wet here today.
Yeah.
And that's the
Great.
Hunter brand.
Okay. Hey, I gotta cut you off there. Ed, I know you've got a ton of experience, but I gotta move on with slides here. You guys, next time everybody show up to the in-person, you'll meet these people with a lot of experience and we can talk more about this. So let's just move on here. I'm trying to get everybody out of here on time. Drawbacks of a smart controller. Homeowners and or crew may not be adept at smartphone apps. You may have to run the entire system from your phone and communicate with the owners that you have changed the schedule. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you're trying to hand it off to an owner and they're not good, you're going to have to train them on the app. Good luck with that. Again, you heard Meryl's experience, and somebody might start to go rogue on you, even though you've carefully planned out your irrigation. So I would be careful about that. Timer controllers can be complex, requiring more upfront programming. Okay. There may be limitations in certain field applications where the smart controller cannot be programmed to your needs, and many need access to internet, wireless, and cloud. There you go. I would also say, let's see, it's all about knowing how much water you need to get to those plants, and that will help you program that that smart timer. Okay, overwatering. Overwatering natives is one of the first mistakes people one of the first mistakes made by people who encounter native plants in the garden for first time. Yeah, so so sometimes a plant will be wilting and yet the soil is very, very moist. So what's going on there? Probably overwatering. So if you've got a plant that's flagging, and the soil is moist, yeah, it's time to go the other direction. So it looks very similar to underwatering. That's the kind of weird part, except for it's gonna look more wilty and less crispy. You can get, it's complicated. So basically, if your plant looks sad and it's got plenty of water in the ground, back off on the watering. This happens a lot with ceanothus. People are like, my ceanothus is dropping leaves and I just kept watering it and then it died. That happens all the time. So know your plant, and then understand how much water it needs, and then you have to trust to a certain extent. Underwatering, drought versus summer. Okay, this is the cool part. Drought is a prolonged period of lack of natural rainfall, breaking our usual pattern. Low to no summer rainfall is a consistent pattern, less than an inch from May to November. Right, that's that dry period I was pointing out. Native plants are adapted to this pattern, do not suffer from it, although they may look a bit crisp by late October, depending, right? A drought, when it occurs, will stress plants because they're not able to resist a lack of rainfall forever. Right, so we talk about the drought happening in the periods where it's expecting water. So if we have consistently where we would like 15 inches of rain a winter, if we're consistently getting 5 inches, and maybe somebody can speak on this very briefly because we're trying to move, but I looked up and it didn't really have a number, like how many years in a row we had to have in order to call it a drought. But if we had 2 years of 5 inches of rain during the winter, I'd say you're in drought conditions. And that's what we're talking about, okay? So not the amount of rainfall in the summer, it's the amount of rainfall we're not getting in the winter. Okay. Okay, state of California. Oh boy, geez, I'm running a little bit late. Oh no, I think we're doing all right. Okay, state of California has embarked on a series of regulations and resources meant to help reduce potable water use throughout the state. The programs rely on plant data, that's WUCOLs, and that actually, we're gonna, it says what that stands for later. Weather data, CMIS, and a process for creating a water budget, WILO and MAWA. Those are regulations put out by the state. So the WUCOLs is a database of plant water needs, and it will list the evapotranspiration in inches and the amount of water you would need to keep the reference plant healthy. We're going to get into it, trust me. A reference crop, the reference crop is usually a high water, a cool season grass, and that would require 100% of what they recommend the inches of water they recommend to keep that plant healthy. They did a lot of tests. I love this stuff. This is the kind of thing I would love to be involved with. And then so let's go and look here. Oh, every time I try to do that. Okay, so WUCOLS, water use classification of landscape species, provides evaluations of the irrigation water needs for over 3,500 taxa used in California landscapes. It is based on the observations and extensive field experience of 36 landscape horticulturalists and provides guidance in the selection and care of landscape plants relative to their water needs. Species are divided into 4 levels, and the levels are up here. So those 3,500 taxa, those are definite, those are landscaping plants. They're not native. Okay, there are many natives in that list, but they just can't list them all. And that was not the purpose. The purpose was to get the information out to landscapers and professionals, not strictly native plant folks. So the 4 levels are high with an abbreviation of H, and those require, so the reference grass requires 100% of the irrigation they recommend. This turf grass here, and they don't have it listed, but the cool thing is you can look it up on this list of WUCOLS. Oddly, the WUCOL site is down right now, or something's going on, because I've been trying to contact it for the last 2 days and I haven't been able to get through. So you would apply 70% of that recommended irrigation water to keep this turf grass looking its optimum. Moderate is the next level, labeled N. I don't know why. Maybe that's a typo. You would need between 40 and 60% of the water needed to keep that reference grass irrigated. Kangaroo paws and lantana are examples. Low, and this is where most of your sort of water conserving California native plants land. Abbreviation L, 10 to 30% of the turf grass, and that's lavender and rosemary. So those are examples. Others would be Salvia apiana. And then very low would be less than 10%, or 10% or less. And good examples are Ceanothus, Arctostaphylos, and Fremontodendron. So already you can see you put in certain kinds of plants and you're saving 90%, depending on the turf grass they had in there, if you're taking out a lawn. Or you can say, you know, imagine you had grass in here. It would require this, but because you're doing this, you are saving 90% on your water. So that's kind of I really dig that way of explaining things. CIMMYS is the CIMMYS, I don't know. It's a tomato thing. California Irrigation Management Information System is part of the Water Use and Efficiency Branch Division of Statewide Integrated Management, California Department of Water Resources, DWR. CIMMYS was developed in 1982 by DWR and the University of California, Davis. It was designed to assist irrigators in managing their water resources more efficiently. So WUCOLS and CIMMYS is the weather station that takes the measurement, and WUCOLS is your list of plants and how it relates to the information you're getting from CIMMYS. So they put weather stations all over the state. This one doesn't show. oh, here's a picture really quickly of the local weather stations for, you know, LA in general. So we have one called the Arleta station. That's the one for TPF. It's number 216. So here's the thing. You can get this data for free, but you have to, you know, give them your information and verify who you are. And then but you can't just get on the site and get the info. So you got to sign up. And then you tell them you're at weather station 216, or you want the information for weather station 216. If you're in Burbank, it's 223. You're over here in Santa Monica or West LA, 99. And then it gives you this readout. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we're going to get into that. Here's LA. Oh, and they divided up the entire state into all these regions. And you can see them here, 1 through 18, I believe. TPF is, it's over here somewhere. And we're number 14. So if you're on the coast, you would look and see your number 4, number 3. There's a little strip here. I think that's also number 4. So you just find your location and find what your zone is. So yet another zone. You don't have to memorize it. You can just look it up every time. And then it tells you, let's see, we're going to see what it tells us. So there's Theodore Payne around here somewhere, and we're number 14. And then I'm going to skip that slide and go to the next one. Here's weather station number 14. So it gives you the ETO. The ETO is the reference irrigation needed. Okay. So over the course of a year for that cool season turf grass, we're going to be applying 57 inches. And I think we talked about this a little bit last week. We'll be applying 57 inches of water. Okay. Here's the part here in July. So January through December. In January, you have to apply less to keep that cool season grass going. You only have to apply 1.55 inches that year. It depends on the year, right? And then as you go up, you can see the weather's getting hotter. You have to apply more water, more water, more water, more water until you finally hit July. And you have to apply 8.68 inches. If you've got one of those plants that only needs 10% of that, then you only need to apply 0.86 inches or 0.87 if you round it up. So a little less than an inch of water to keep that 0.1, that 10% plant going at its optimum. Okay, so this comes in super handy. This is how we kind of know how to how we come up with that 1.5 to 2 inches of rain during the summer. And you can adjust. You don't have to go through. We don't adjust every. We do this at the beginning of the season. You don't have to adjust. Make these micro adjustments. But this can be a little confusing at first. I remember at first I didn't really totally get what they were talking about. But once you get it, it kind of opens up your irrigation strategy and it really kind of helps you lock it in. I don't like how it does that. So Simis, let's see, is there anything I missed before? Yeah, so you find your zone, you go on to Simis, you find out.
Sorry, Eric, could you
Yes.
please show the slide before the Simis, the woo calls or?
Yes. Oh, this one?
Yeah, the
Okay.
one before that, I just wanted, I thought
One more, this one?
yeah, I just wanted to get that, who was behind that.
Uh-huh,
Thanks. Thank you.
sure. So it's basically you're finding out your evapotranspiration for your zone and the plant. So they lock the plant to your zone. So even though I have, let's say, a Salvia apiana at Theodore Payne, it's going to be different than a Salvia apiana in Santa Monica. Okay. And you can find that by just finding your zone, and then you find the ETO for the reference grass, and then you know the percentage of water that your Salvia apiana needs, and you would adjust it. And so we kind of use a 0.2 as an average. You know, we're not going to go and like do each individual plant, right? So here at Theodore Payne, I would say we do roughly 0.2. And that's how we go and find out the amount that we add. Are there any? So that may be, how's everybody feeling about that? Any questions? Okay. Okay, I'm not going to address John's thing. If just keep an eye on the chat, folks. If people are offering information, feel free to copy that down. Okay, Wheelo is, it's actually called now M Wheelo, I believe. It's the Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance. Yeah, M Wheelo, yeah, Muilo. So they had to make it harder, right? Muilo. The purpose of this ordinance, this is a state ordinance, and the purpose is to improve landscape irrigation water savings, increase water efficiency standards for new and retrofitted landscapes, establish water waste prevention for existing landscapes, use water efficiently and without waste by setting a maximum applied water allowance as an upper limit for water use, and reduce water use to the lowest practical amount. Encourage local, and also to encourage local agencies like LADWP to offer, and water purveyors to use economic incentives that promote the efficient use of water. And that's what this whole, like what LADWP is offering, to rebate some heads, rebate your controllers, and give you this lawn replacement program. Let's see. Okay, 554. Okay, maximum applied water allowance, part of the Wheelo ordinance, the upper limit for water use. So they're telling you you can't use any more than this. Reduce water to its lowest practical amount, and generally targeted for new construction and for renovations that are professionally installed and are larger than 2,500 square feet, requiring a building or landscape permit, plan check, or design review. LADWP is offering various rebates pertaining to landscape irrigation equipment. So you're going to have a formula that you would plug in your numbers. We're going to go over that super quick. And then you would put that in your permit application. I don't know at what stage, but at some point you're going to have to submit that. And it is suggested that you don't just blow this off because you're working on small gardens that are smaller than 2,500 square feet. There's some valuable information in here. So let's get
Hey,
to
Eric,
Yes.
I've just got to say, most cities now are requiring these plan sets for anything over 500 square feet. They've gotten pretty tight with this.
Wow. So there's a reason why you want to get familiar with this. Okay. So there is the formula. Screenshot it. If it's not in the book and it's been a a little bit since I've looked through here to see if it's in the book. I'm sure you can get it online, not that hard, right? So your ETO, yearly evapotranspiration rate for a specific geographic area for growing cool season grass. That's that 57 inches, right? That I talked about. 0.62 helps you convert because their water supplier, the water supplier is offering this, they want to know gallons. So you have to go in reverse rather than inches. So the way you convert from gallons to, or from inches to gallons is you times it times 0.62. Then your ETA AF is evapotranspiration adjustment factor, 0.55 for residential projects and 0.45 for non-residential projects. So, and then landscape areas. So you're gonna, as you see down here, example 1, your ETO is approximately 57 inches per year in Sun Valley. The residential, you're gonna use the residential coefficient, if that's the right math term. And then the landscape area would be 3,000 square feet, for example. So the calculation, ETO times 0.62 times your product of that adjustment factor. So whether you're working on residential or whether you're working on non-residential, in this case, we're going to call it residential. You get 57 inches times 0.62 times the product of 0.55 times 3,000 and gives you 58,000 gallons a year. Okay. I think it's interesting that that just almost equals, if you just added a bunch of zeros onto 57, but they want the exact numbers. That's where you get your 57 from. You can't see my finger pointing, but I'm pointing right where the arrow is pointing, and you get that from the CIMIS. So that's a lot of info. It's worth knowing. It's a way that, so reasons why, let's see. So you can sort of just, you can just tell your client or whoever it is, exact, how much they're saving in gallons per year. For instance, you'd say, oh, if you had this in the past, now you're saving this. So that's one. Knowing how to go backwards, inches to gallons, is not a horrible thing. The other thing is knowing, say you're putting in cisterns, knowing how much water you would need in a cistern, or how far that cistern that you have will go to irrigating the landscape before you have to then supplement it with an irrigation system. So that's just a quick thought on how that might benefit you. I'm going a little behind, and then we're going to get, oh my God. Wow. Makita?
Yes.
Are you in touch with Martha at all?
No.
Okay. I'm hoping she.
Eric, I am here.
Oh, hi, Martha. Sorry.
Hi.
I
problem.
just got a bit more information to go through, and I'm sorry, it may take another 10 minutes.
No problem. I will be here.
Okay, thank you. So I know that's a lot of info, and if you have more questions, you can email me. We can talk about this stuff when we get together in person in the future. So let's talk about irrigation controller replacement, the need to replace even fairly new controllers is due to the overwhelming benefits offered by smartphone applications. Most customers will want to convert, charge for the equipment, the labor. Okay, so these are things that you can charge, just your knowledge and ushering your client through these scenarios. Sprinkler rebate work, LADWP has a rebate for conversion to new rotator heads on existing irrigation system. Minimum number of heads is 30. Martha will talk to you about that. Rain garden rating. So here's another thing you can charge for. Of course you would, because manual labor here. So capturing rainfall. This is part of the turf replacement program. You have to capture rainfall. Martha will go over that in more detail. Through the use of you can use basins, swales, berms, and they also, or you can use what do you call those big things, barrels that catch the water. They require one of those things in the turf replacement, and I hope I'm not giving bad info. I don't think I am. So when there's a great handout in this book in your book on rain garden design and how to calculate how much water the rain garden can collect. And that's written by Clara Costa. She's an expert in this. So if you're interested in that, or you're doing the rebate program, you're going to want to check that out. Wilo and Mala, for new construction and for renovations that are professionally installed and are larger, I guess these requirements have changed. So in some locations, and are larger than 2,500 square feet, requiring a building or landscape permit, plan check, design review, the owner will need to complete. Okay, so they're saying rather than the owner doing this, you can charge them for doing it. But I just don't see how you would just drop that off in a owner's lap if you're helping to install their garden. So just be aware that that seems like part of the service. And then homework. Okay, so here we are. Determine which of the LADWP rebates a particular client qualifies for and could benefit from. So listen carefully to Martha. Check out the information on the website. Pick a garden. I don't really care which garden you pick. It can be your own garden. It can be your mom's garden, your neighbor's garden, your friend's garden, and just quiz yourself and do the best job you can and get back to me. Send me the information, what you're replacing, and how much the client could expect in rebates. Okay, I'm going to pass it on to Martha at this point. Martha, you there?
I am here, Eric. Were you going
Okay.
to take a break or has that happened?
Oh yeah,
already?
let's take 5. Let's let everybody get a little stretch, and we'll come back at 6:10, and we should be able to get this. I've heard Martha do this and she just flies through. So we'll get you out of here. Okay, folks. So 6:10. See you then.
Martha, will you need to share your screen?
I think Eric has the presentation. If not, I can pull it up really quick.
I think I have it. Yeah, just clicking on the first. Does this look like your current?
If you can go a couple more, just so I can see.
That
if
one,
the-
right?
Yes, it is the current one.
Okay, great.
All righty.
All right, let's take a little break and we'll come back.
Okay.
All right. Are we here? Ooh, let's go. Everybody here? Martha's ready to roll. I need to see, let me see a couple faces, make sure everybody's here. Click your cameras.
I am here.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay. Let's hit it. For those about to rock, it's Martha. Sorry, I don't know your last name, Martha. Can't hear you.
Okay. My name is Martha Rodriguez. I'm a water conservation specialist with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. And I'm going to briefly talk to you guys about the water conservation outdoor landscaping rebates that you can take advantage of or have your customer take advantage of. Here is my contact information as far as any questions. We definitely want to help you. waterconservation@ladwp.com. Please feel free to write that down and let me know anytime if you have any questions outside of this training class. Next. So for the purposes of water conservation rebates and when you are applying for rebates, I'm going to define what we consider residential. Single family dwelling or 1 to 4 multifamily dwelling units. Commercial is defined as commercial, industrial, institutional, and 5 or more units. So if you have a single, a duplex, a triplex, residential, anything over 5 units would be commercial. Next. These are the residential rebates that I'm going to talk to you about. Weather-based irrigation controller, soil moisture sensor, hose bib irrigation controller, flow monitoring leak detection device, rotating nozzles, rain barrel or cistern, and the turf replacement program. Next. The first one is the weather-based irrigation controller. The qualifying controller, there is a list of all the qualifying models on the webpage that I will give you at the end. Make sure that it is on there. And for residential, if the property is less than 1 acre, the rebate is up to $200. And if it is greater than 1 acre, it's per station, $35 per station. I have underlined on here up to 200 because if you purchase a irrigation controller, let's say for $100, and the receipt says $100, your customer is going to get $100 and not $200. So if you are a contractor, I highly recommend that you take advantage of the full rebate. And if you create your own receipt for your customer, make sure that you let them take full advantage. I mean, that's going to pretty much pay for your labor. And the rebate is not for the labor, it is for the controller. So I hope you understand that.
Excuse me, Martha.
Yes.
Someone is asking if you can go back a slide or two. I'm not sure if, see who asked. Daniel, which slide?
Yeah, yes, that's the slide right here. I just wanted to take a picture of it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, you can move on. Thank you.
So the other rebate that's also based on irrigation controllers is a soil moisture sensor. It must include a sensor, calibrator, and an irrigation controller. The rebate, same as the weather-based irrigation controller, is up to $200. And if it's less than 1 acre, anything over 1 acre would be $35 per station. Next. These are 2 of our newer rebates. The hose bib irrigation controller. This connects directly between your faucet and your hose, and the qualifying controller rebate is up to $35. The flow monitoring leak detection device needs to be, you need to have a reliable Wi-Fi at the installation location and a smart device such as a tablet or a smartphone. The rebate will only be paid to devices installed on the customer property, not on the utility meter. So there's 2 kinds. There's one that gets usually strapped on to the water meter, and then there's one that goes on the customer plumbing. We only rebate on the one with the customer plumbing. Qualifying device is up to $150. Next. Eric was talking about the rotating nozzles. Here is the information. Qualifying nozzles. Once again, make sure that they are a qualifying model. Minimum 30, rebate up to $6 per nozzle. Rain barrel or cistern. 2 different rebates, but you can only apply for one, or your customer can only apply for one. Rain barrel, minimum 50 gallons, up to $50 per barrel, limit 2. The cistern varies in size, but minimum 200. And the rebate is anywhere between $300 and $500, limit 1. So once again, these cannot be combined. It's one or the other. Next. Commercial landscape rebates. Weather-based irrigation controller, soil moisture sensor, rotating nozzles, large rotary nozzle retrofit, in-stem flow regulator, and the turf replacement program. I'm going to talk about the turf replacement program for both residential and commercial towards the end. I just want to get the other devices, get you that information first. Next. So for commercial, because they do tend to be larger properties, sometimes even schools or parks, the weather-based irrigation controller or central computer irrigation controller is $50 per station. The soil moisture sensor, same thing, $50 per station, must have a sensor, calibrator, and controller. Next. Rotating nozzle, same as residential, minimum 30 nozzles, up to $6 per nozzle. And here we have the large rotary nozzle retrofit. And they replaced, these large nozzles replaced the plastic ones with durable metal ones. And these are 13 per head, 8 head minimum. So like I said, these are for large areas. Next. Commercial, the in-stem flow regulators. They control water and irrigation systems at the sprinkler head, up to $2 per device, 25 devices minimum, no maximum. So the difference between residential and commercial is commercial rebates, you have to reserve the funds first. Because it can be large projects, you need to reserve it to make sure that the funds are there. Once you reserve it, you can go to SoCalWaterSmart.com or have your customer go there to reserve the funds and then get your reservation. You have 60 days from the day of reservation to purchase, install, and then go back online and complete the rest of the application process and upload your documentation. Next.
Oh, before we
Yes.
move on, we have 2 questions.
Okay,
Now a good time for questions?
it's up to you. We can do them at the end or we can do them as we go.
Okay, well, quickly, a contractor's invoice for the controller to the client is sufficient?
As long as it has the model number on there and the amount that they paid and that it's paid, that would be sufficient.
Okay, and then the second is, can you apply to both TRP and other rebates?
So the TRP would be the turf replacement program and other
Yeah.
rebates. You can apply for everything that I just listed. You can apply for all of them if your project is eligible. Like technically, if you would never applied for any of those rebates or your customer never has, of course you're not going to apply for a turf rebate and then change out the irrigation to overhead because that's not allowed in our program. But you can apply for all of these rebates together.
Okay. Just to clarify what you said before, commercial status is based on the size of the property, number of dwellings, not business structure or zoning.
So just to clarify, commercial for multifamily is 5 or more units. Anything other than that, that is considered commercial, such as a store, a school, anything industrial, that would be commercial. So if I go to property records on LA property records, it tells me the type of property that it is, single family, or it'll say commercial. That's what I go by.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I had a question. Is there rebates if you use any type of irrigation for gray water? Or can you use gray water for natives?
That's a whole other question. Let's talk about the
Okay.
rebates on the gray water.
Oh, okay.
Are there?
The rebates, I mean, if you reuse the water, I mean, if you're going to use it on your landscape, I mean, that's absolutely fine if you get sprinklers, if that's what you're going to do. Yeah, that would be fine. It's not going to ask you, the application's not going to say, do you reuse your water or anything like that?
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, let's roll.
All right, so here I'm going to talk about the residential turf rebate program. To the left, you have a pre, and then to the right, you have a post. The rebate is in partnership with our water wholesaler, which is Metropolitan Water District. We pay together $3 per square foot of grass removed and converted to drought tolerant. Pre-approval is required prior to removing the grass. Once again, make sure you get pre-approved before you remove any grass. Next. For commercial, same thing, $3 per square foot, except the square footage is higher. For $3, you go up to 50,000 square feet, and anything over 50,000 square feet up to 7 acres is $1. Once again, pre-approval is required. Here, this is a picture of Kaiser, one of the Kaiser facilities. As you can see, there was grass before, and then it turned into a drought tolerant landscape. Next.
What if you've already removed the grass?
Then, if you completely removed it,
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to do. So I removed it like earlier this year. I mean, I have pictures of what it looked like beforehand.
so the truth is it's a water saving program.
Mhm.
So you wouldn't really be saving any water, even though
Unless
a
I
lot
was
of
doing
times,
small grass again, right?
well, I'm not gonna say to do that, but
Okay.
what if you do have pre-pictures when you had grass, you can
Yeah.
always try to apply.
Okay.
I mean, that's the only thing I can say, if they were to ask you for more pictures, then you might have to,
Get some sod and put it down so it looks like grass.
there's always some seeds, right?
Gotcha. But awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
No, I can't hear you when you say that. Okay,
Or wait for the rain, right?
yeah, okay.
All right, some of the terms and conditions. Here's the checklist of the things that must be met in order to make sure that you get the rebate or your customer. All turf must be removed in project area, covered with a weed barrier material, preferably organic, such as cardboard, paper, etc. All overhead irrigation must be capped, removed, or converted to drip irrigation. No overhead irrigation is allowed. So during the first 2 years of plant establishment, additional hand watering most likely will be required or needed. All weed barrier material and exposed soil must be covered with at least 3 inches of mulch. We don't want to see any exposed soil. We don't want to see any weed barrier material. It has to be covered with mulch.
Now, on my property, there's a section that's in front of the property that's on technically city property. Would it be required to be on that as well, or just on the property line itself?
So there's this page right here. It's called the Parkway. So the
Okay.
City of LA Parkway Terms and Conditions. The parkway is defined as the area of the street between the back of the curb and the sidewalk, and is typically planted or landscaped. So for the rebate, and that's only if you want the rebate, plants and mulch only. Plants and mulch only. The plants must be drought tolerant or native to California and must cover 80% plant coverage at full maturity. Low growing ground cover plants are recommended. Remember, people are getting off of their cars, and anything low growing would be more beneficial to you because they're not going to be stepping all over it. So the plants also must be lower than 36 inches in height at full maturity. Since it is 80% required, I would say maybe leave a pathway or an area where people can get off and not step on your plants. And for commercial properties, they must obtain a permit from Street Services for parkways. Here is the webpage, our webpage, where you can find the full parkway guidelines, including the city ordinance. Next. I think we skipped the page. If you can go back. Well, no, let me finish. You know what? Let me finish the parkways, and then we'll go back. Next page, please. Okay, what is now not allowed in the parkway? Turf or turf-looking grasses, plants with spines or thorns, poisonous, noxious, or invasive plants, vegetables or fruit gardens, and all non-vegetative material. No gravel, no cement, no sand, no DG, no bark, no pavers, no synthetic, you get it. Nothing, just plants and mulch. If you can go back 2 slides for me, please. One more just to make sure. Okay, so I went over this. This was the first 3 of the checklist, and go ahead to the next one. Okay, your project must include one of the following rain capture techniques, and Eric talked about this: rain garden, rain barrel, cistern, infiltration trench, vegetated swale, berm, dry riverbed, grade, or retention pond. It must include one of these. The next one is really, really important because this is where we get the most problems, and people, I really hope I clarify this for you. Projects are allowed a maximum of 25% of project area to be covered in non-vegetative materials such as pavers, gravel, decomposed granite, rocks, sand, etc. So if you have a front yard and it's 1,000 square feet, only 250 square feet total can be of pavers, can be a pathway of decomposed granite, can be your swale, can be your berm or whatever, hardscape. The rest has to be plants and mulch, okay? Like I said, this is one of the main problems that we find, that people think that it is allowed to have more than the 25%. About 5 years ago, when the program was running at a high peak, we actually allowed synthetic turf, we allowed 100% gravel. That is no longer the case. So make sure that you only include, if you include, and you don't have to, 25% or less of hardscape. Front yard and backyard projects must include 3 plants per every 100 square feet. We recommend, of course, native, drought tolerant, and California friendly plants. Next. Next. Let me see, I have a question here. Rotator nozzles are not considered overhead irrigation. Rotating nozzles are considered overhead irrigation and are not allowed in the turf removal program. You can have drip, you can have micro sprays, bubblers, and hand watering. Okay.
So Maggie, just to clarify, the rotator, the nozzle replacement is separate from the turf replacement.
Right. Well, it's just interesting that the rotator head nozzles are considered to be efficient water delivery, and yet they're not allowed in the turf replacement. The other question I had was that the SoCal Water Smart site actually says the rotator head nozzles are allowed in their list of sprinkler conversions: drip, micro spray, rotator nozzles. So it's a bit confusing because the LADWP says no overhead irrigation, and the SoCal Water Smart program that connects you with your water district says that the rotator head nozzles are allowed. So it's a little bit confusing.
It's actually a lot confusing. The truth is, the SoCal Water Smart is hired by Metropolitan Water District, and they manage the rebates for 26 water agencies. MWD has set the standard minimum project requirements, and every water agency, if they add additional funds, pretty much add to the requirements, or are more specific to the requirements. For an LADWP turf rebate, there is no overhead irrigation allowed. If you're outside of LADWP, they might allow it. For those people that don't want to remove their grass, we recommend the rotating nozzles because they are more efficient. People tend to overwater, even if it is drought tolerant, and that's why they're not allowed.
Oh, speaking as a person who installs native, I find it a little bit unfortunate that we can't use those.
No, and I understand because I've talked to people from Theater of Pain, and I know that you guys recommend because it's more of a natural drop in, like if it were to rain, and that's why we recommend hand watering. I mean, you know, unfortunately, it's something that, you know, our management hasn't allowed.
Thank you.
No problem. Stephanie had a question. Can we count plants planted in the berm? Absolutely. Your whole project area, you can put them all in a straight line. You can put them, you know, in the berm. You can put them wherever, as long as there's 3 plants for every 100 square feet.
Okay.
Okay, Andrew, 3 plants for every 100 square feet would prevent the use of certain plants like CO. Yeah, that unfortunately, that could be the case. I don't have anything else to say on that. That is a requirement. I know for sure that they do count count the plants on your pictures that you submit. And if a physical inspection is done, they will literally go counting plants.
Okay. Okay.
So let's say your landscape already includes a plant that's not water friendly. Does that have to come out?
No.
Okay.
No, it's anything new has to be, I mean, this is the truth, you know, I'm not a horticulturist, I don't know, you know, a lot of stuff, but neither are the inspectors that are going out there and the people that are reviewing this. It is just recommended that, you know, that you put drought tolerant or native plants. But we don't really know. They're, like I said, they're going to count the plants. They're not going to say, oh, nope, this is a high water using plant. That's, you know, ultimately they're going to die if there's not enough water that's put on them.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Let's move on with the presentation.
Okay.
We'll get back to the questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I mentioned, pre-approval is required before starting your project, whether it's residential or commercial. A minimum of 5 pictures of the proposed project area showing the front of the house and front yard and all of the rest of the project areas. We need a street view of it. A lot of times pictures are really close and I mean, it could be your neighbor's house for all we know. So just make sure you at least have 1 or 2 pictures from, be careful, of course, from the middle of the street showing the house. You're going to need the first full page of your LADWP water bill or your customer's bill, a landscape plan drawing, nothing fancy is needed. If you look there, it's just a simple graph paper with rectangles and little X's showing the plants and the rain capture. So just put your project measurements, your rain capture technique, and this is what you're going to need to upload to start your project. Next. You will go to SoCalWatersmart.com to apply. You'll need to register your email and create a password. Next.
Well, let me just make sure I didn't, okay. Yeah,
Nope.
we got everything.
You'll go to residential if it's residential or commercial if it's commercial. Next. Submit your rebate application. Next. And if you've never been on the website, you'll have to create a new user ID and password, or you will sign on if you have previously you've registered before. Next. So you'll fill out a basic application, name, address, email, phone number, account number. Project information, you'll need the project address, the property type, lot size, current irrigation type, square footage of all project areas, front yard, backyard, parkway, and then you're going to select the rain capture technique that will be used in your project. Next. Submit your application, make sure you read the terms and conditions. There is sustainable landscape videos offered by MWD to see the different types of rain capture techniques. You will do an e-sign by typing in your name. You will hit save and submit, and off it goes. Next. Next. All right, you're going to get an email that has a rebate application number. This is not your pre-approval, and please do not start your project. The review process takes about 1 to 2 weeks, and they're looking at your pictures, they're looking at the measurements, they're looking at satellite images. The truth is they're not really looking at your plan, so make sure, even though they're requesting it and you get pre-approved, it doesn't really mean that your plan is pre-approved. They're looking just to see that you have some type of rain capture technique. And so just make sure that everything, you know the terms and conditions ahead of time. Not remove your grass until you get your pre-approval email. Next.
Hold on, let me make sure. Okay.
Right there. So when you get your pre-approval email, it's going to look something similar to this bottom left hand. You will have 180 days to complete your project, and that's 6 months. And as much as it seems like a long time, we often get requests for extensions. So once again, read the terms and conditions. If you have any questions regarding the terms and conditions, email me or my group at waterconservation@LADWP or call us. We are currently telecommuting, so you might have to leave a voicemail and we'll get back to you. The easiest way would be to email us. If you want us to call you, we can call you back. Just email us and say, call me back. Or like I said, leave a message. And once you read everything and you understand or you have questions, then you can go ahead and start. Next. So when you are finished and before the 180 days, go back online. Here's the website, SoCalWatersmart.com. Sign in, update your application information, upload your newest first page of your bill, upload a minimum of 5 new pictures of your completed project. Make sure to include a picture of your rain capture feature. Make sure you save and submit. At this point, it's going to be reviewed again by SoCal WaterSmart. Takes about 1 to 2 weeks. Then they send it to my group. My group will be reviewing it, will be measuring it via satellite. If a physical inspection is needed at that time because something is questionable, that will happen at that time as well. You might even get an email that says your rebate has been reduced to 0. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time, but this is the only way we get people to call us back or email us back. Something is wrong with your project and we want to help you. We want to approve it. So some corrections need to be made. So that is why we send out a drastic email. So please don't get too mad. If your project has met all the terms and conditions, you will be notified within 2 to 4 weeks that your rebate is approved. And it takes 6 to 8 weeks from the approval date to receive your rebate check. Next. Contact information. Here is the information for my group, the email address, the phone number. If you do leave a voicemail message, please do not say 1, 2, 3, 4 like really fast. Please slow down, leave a clear message, and we will call you back. SoCal WaterSmart, this is where you're applying. This is if you have any problems when you are applying. If you need to find out the status of your application, this is their information, SoCal WaterSmart and their hotline. And I think that is it. We can go with questions.
Are you hiring?
No, they're not.
I think, okay, so somebody mentioned, not sure if you said this, but I believe weed fabric is not allowed. Hit it.
So it actually is allowed. We, of course, recommend and prefer that it be organic, such as cardboard or newspaper. But we can't stop people from, it is there and it actually will cause more problems because of the weeds growing and not being able to. It's a problem. Unfortunately, we cannot prohibit it. Like I said, we do recommend organic weed barrier.
Do you allow designers to do like multiple applications, or does the client always have to do it? Or
so as far as payment goes, the payment can only be done to the customer of record of LADWP service. So I mean, you can do as many projects as you want. You can apply for the customer. You can submit all the pictures and all the paperwork and everything for them. But ultimately, they're the ones that are going to get the.
They'll get the check. And yeah, I just want to make sure I wouldn't be like flagged if I'm doing multiple applications on the behalf of like different folks.
You will only be flagged if you do a lot of things wrong. But other than that, it won't be a problem.
All right, cool.
I just wanted to show you this screen, everybody. It says the first check mark is all turf must be removed in project area and covered with a weed barrier material, preferably organic, cardboard, paper, etc. So it sounds like it's actually a requirement.
I understood that the program included a design, the turf replacement program, provided by the city.
No, so we have a few programs going on right now. The turf program has been around for a while, but we have like hands-on workshops. They also just recently are doing a pilot program for designs. So if you meet the requirements, let's say for a turf removal program, you can qualify to get a free design by professional designers, and that will meet the terms and conditions of the program if you decide to move forward with the program. It's not mandatory that you do a turf project, but of course that would be the purpose of this, to try to get people to, hey, here's the design for free, now go and implement it. So there is that. If you can email me at waterconservation@ladwp.com, I can forward you the information. I can forward it to Eric too, so he can send that to you guys.
So you're required to use their designer.
I believe I think there's 3 designers in the pilot program, but it is the same agency, I believe, but they will design it for you. They have templates pretty much.
I'm just saying for Phil, like if you recommended it to your client, then they would be providing the designer. So it would be taking you out of work.
Well, I actually did it once, and Martha, you were actually very, very helpful over email. And I
Okay.
did it for a client in Mar Vista, and I just basically did the whole process you just laid out for them and installed the garden, and it was my design. So I didn't come up against anything like that, but I think it's sort of a separate thing, right?
It is a separate thing, yeah. And it's actually kind of in a pilot phase still, so it's not, the word really hasn't gone out much. And the truth is, I think maybe only 1 or 2 projects have gone through the application process to do the turf program. So, I mean, like I said, it's not required to do the turf program. If you have a client, or if you are, of course, a designer yourself, you can do it for them. And it doesn't have to be anything, but if you have a client that needs a design and you don't, maybe they don't have a budget for a design, they could possibly take advantage of the free design.
Right. Like in this case, basically the rebate paid for my fee, almost like it just sort of like offset some of those costs, but it's also nice that there are free designers, I guess, too. But yeah, it could put me out of work, I guess.
Well, I mean, the truth is, like I said, the word has really not gotten out yet, and it hasn't really gone anywhere. But I mean, I would hope they wouldn't take you out of work, like. But
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But that is an option that's out there, and I really hope that Phil gets more people though.
Just one quick question, follow up to this. So you don't have to use the designer, even if you get a design, you don't have to use the design that they provide, or do you?
The truth is, you don't have to use a design. You don't even have to apply for the turf rebate. It's always, of course, it's recommended that you do, since this work and money has been used to create a design for you. It would be recommended that you apply and take advantage of it. But I mean, that's ultimately up to you or to the customer, but it's not a requirement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have time for one more question? Or unless it'd be easier if I email it to you?
It's up to Eric. I am here, so whatever Eric says.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can let anybody who's not interested in hearing these questions can go. You've got the homework. So feel free to vamoose, and then let Martha answer the questions for the people that want to hear more about it.
Okay, so my question is, I have a client. She wants me to redo the parkway with native plants, and she doesn't have grass there. It's just dirt. Is there any type of rebate that we can apply for just the plants, because the turf is gone? It's just dirt.
Unfortunately, no. If it's just dirt, she wouldn't qualify for the turf rebate, and the other rebates would be the ones that I mentioned, and I don't think they would be beneficial at this point for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know, because you can't irrigate on the parkway, right? It just has to be hand water.
Yeah, it would. I mean, you can put drip irrigation if you were doing a project, but with dirt, I mean, it's not going to get approved.
No. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
I was wondering if there are rebates for stormwater retention other than for cisterns or rain barrels. Like if you want to build a retention pond, are there any sort of rebates for materials like rock or whatever to do that?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay. I think you outlasted them, Martha. You are the answer person right there. Yes. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Am I right? We're all done here, folks. We can let Martha go. She's got her email up there. You can hit her up. Thank you so much, Martha.
No problem, Eric.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. So, yeah, that's it, folks. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your good questions. Yeah.
I
Anybody?
missed the homework slide. Could you bring that back up for me?
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Thank you.
So, there we go. So yeah, I'll just say it out loud again. Pick a garden, and tell us what rebates your client would qualify for. Do a little research, go on the website, see what, make sure that and get down into like the equipment you would recommend and make sure that the rebate is available for that equipment. Because if you're going to be doing this, you want to make sure you get your rebates. That would be a boo-boo. So yeah, I think that's pretty clear.
We have a question in the chat.
Okay, when is pruning class? Pruning class is 2 weeks. So today's Tuesday. Next week is integrated pest management. And weeding, so troublesome things. And then we get into pruning next week. And we'll have our in-class next Saturday, or in person next Saturday. So sign up if you want to get in there early. Also, I would say be kind to your fellow students. If you can't make it, if you signed up early and you can't make it, the early one seems to be the one that everybody's after. If you signed up early and you can't make it, please try to bow out as soon as you know, so that other people can take the slot.
I was actually gonna ask you about that because I signed up for the later class that day and I was wondering if I could possibly change to the earlier class.
That would be
You can email me about that.
yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Okay, so that's the story, Morning Glories. Shall we call it? Okay, okay, all right. See y'all later.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Eric.
please email me. Please email me or Anjali with questions if you have them. Okay, talk to you later. All right, stop.
Bye, all.
Bye. Eric, all good? Is there anything you want to talk about?
Oh, let's let the students leave.
Got it.
Those of you that are still awake. Yeah, I don't think there's that much to talk about unless there's anything. We're good, Makita?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Well, let everybody go home.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Not go home. Walk to your living room is what I mean. I don't know. All right. I'll see y'all later.
Nice job, Eric.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.